Work less, make more. It's not a catchphrase. It's not marketing. It's just practical. You have so much time. And so to devote your time to just grinding your face off to get business just seems dumb. It just seems much smarter to figure out, how do I get myself mentally, emotionally, spiritually in a place where I can open myself up to new possibilities and do the business in a different way? How do I get so groovy in my way of operating that my presence is experienced as a gift? Because when my presence is experienced as a gift, people want to refer me. People throw me things. People go you should do this for free. You should come with us. You should be ready. It just creates this velocity. You can feel joyful. You can feel playful. Real estate can be fun and exciting. I'll give you some stories from my world. Johnny Buxani is an agent in Texas, and he started to play with my methodology last October. And using the mindset methodology, he actually in 6 weeks ended up having the best sales month of his entire 14-year career in December. He's a 2-deal a month kind of guy. He did 10 deals in December.
Wow.
It took him 6 weeks to transform the business. And I didn't tell him what to do. I don't tell people what to do. I think that's BS when you tell people what to do. I think people are smart and that they can figure out what to do. So he just gave me an update. And this year, he's reduced his work hours by 70%, but he's maintaining his income. Work less and make more. I just want to say this. That's not a marketing catchphrase. This is the promise of taking on your mindset. Work less, make more. Michelle Sayward, I don't know if you guys know her or not, but she is a mega producer. Team producing 200 deals a year. But last year, suddenly, out of nowhere, a coordinated mutiny happened. Her whole team left and started their own shop. Literally, decimating her business. And using the mindset methodology that we're going to talk about today, not only did she recover fast, but in less than 90 days, she had her business up and running. It was profitable again, but this time, less headaches, less grind, more flow. Work less, make more. Dave Bemis, he was mostly retired, but he decided, he got inspired. He wanted to get back into it again. And he just had the best quarter of his entire 20-year career this first quarter of the year, but he only worked 4 hours a day doing it. Work less, make more. What you're going to find out about me is if it's weird, if it's different, if it's interesting, if it's new, if it breaks all the rules, if everyone says you have to grind your face off, you have to work your ass off all day long. If that's what people say, then you're going to just discover 100% I do the exact opposite. And I've been doing the opposite my whole life. My dad used to say to me, if I could just get you to work full time, we could make so much more. And I used to say, if I worked full time, I would die. I need to play and be free and be creative and do all of that stuff. I have to do it a different way. I have to be interesting, different, weird, strange. And if I don't, if I just try and follow somebody else's rules, then you're not going to get the best of me. Ali is someone who is in his 6th year of business. Last year, he did 32 deals. He's already has closed and pending right now 28 deals. Wow. And here's the dirty little secret he just told me. He just said, Matthew, don't tell my coach, but I keep lying about my numbers. I'm only making 2 or 3 calls a day. But I keep saying that I'm making 20 because I just want to keep my coach off my back. I love my coach. I just don't want to do all this grindy bullshit. Work less, make more. Now, if you aren't getting these kinds of results, then I'm going to propose that you have a blind spot. And that blind spot, I want you to just write it down for me. Write down, I might be suffering from agent underperformance. I might be suffering. I don't know if you are. I'm proposing you might be suffering from agent underperformance. And that's the state of not earning up to or beyond your income potential, given your skills, your expertise, and your market knowledge. And it's easy to diagnose this because if you're suffering from agent underperformance, then you always have this feeling, I know I could do more, but I'm not. Some invisible barrier is stopping you and you can feel it. You know that you can increase your income, that you can be more efficient, that you could take more time off, but something is blocking you from doing it. You can feel it, right? It's like something is there. That is agent underperformance. Now, there is an effect, right? Because the effect feels like this. You know you're being blocked when it's hard to have positive conversations with the homeowners out there because they're so negative about the economy and interest rates and the inability to make a move because prices are so high. You know you're being blocked because prospecting feels like a grind. And you secretly wonder why other agents seem to have such an easy time doing it, and it's such a consternation for you. You know you're blocked when the great clients jump ship and they work with another agent, and you get angry. You get frustrated. You feel defeated. You feel betrayed. That's a signal. You know you're blocked when you experience anxiety or a little bit of fear or frustration because you aren't getting as many referrals as you used to, right? Like the lead flow is stalling and your anxiety is rising. That's a signal. Most agents don't even realize that it's actually an indicator. You're blocked when you push yourself, you get aggressive with yourself, more accountable, daily lead gen, more aggressive with lead follow-up, right? It's like no flow, no magic, just grind, just push, just force. You're dominating yourself. You're dominating yourself to take action. So do me a favor. Could you just please say yes if you can relate to any of these things?
Yes, sir.
Yes. It is normal if you take a normal approach to the process. But if you take a contrarian approach and you begin to recognize that everything that I'm doing here is something mentally, emotionally, spiritually driven, then you can make a change, right? The obvious question is like, what's causing all this to happen? And, like right off the bat, we just go like, it's the market, Matthew. But probably not, because other people are killing it right now and they're not experiencing that, right? Do you need to skill up? Probably not. I mean, there are plenty of agents in your market who have way less skills than you, and they're still doing well. Is it your discipline? I don't think so, right? Because, there are agents out there who don't really follow a particular discipline. They're sort of willy-nilly in the way that they do it, and they're doing deal after deal after deal after deal after deal. So what is the underlying cause? I want you to write this down for me. Would you write down mindset malfunctions? Mindset malfunctions. I have spent my career trying to figure out what the heck is this, and it turns out that our mindset is malfunctioning. And here's how it's malfunctioning. Write down this word, opposing, 2 words, opposing intention. Opposing intention. And here is the global opposing intention. Write down survival consciousness opposes thriving consciousness. Survival consciousness opposes thriving consciousness. You're trying to thrive, and yet you feel anxiety or frustration or anger or doubt or uncertainty, or things piss you off, or you get angry and you're like, why did that agent do that? Right? Like you have these reactions. All of that is just an indicator. It just tells you that you're accidentally activating the wrong part of yourself. You're having a mindset malfunction. So today I want to share 2 mindset malfunctions. And I have been working on this now, and Jackie will tell you, for 30 years. Trying to figure out, like, what is this? And then creating systems to overcome it. So the first one, I want you to write this down for me. Will you just write down survival instincts? Survival instincts. Now, in my peer-reviewed and published methodology called the Rapid Enlightenment Process, I distinguish that we all have a set of survival instincts which I call hidden motives to survive. And the hidden motives to survive, greed, grudge, hatred, victim, illogical rules, humble, traitor, pride, resistance, and lazy, drive everything. The 10 hidden motives to survive are the source of doubt, fear, anxiety, and negative thoughts in general. And doubt, fear, anxiety, and negative thoughts debilitate you. You don't see the possibility. You don't see like that you're stepping over gold bars to pick up a penny. Because when doubt, fear, anxiety, negative thoughts are present, your scope, your perspective focuses on purpose because you're in a survival situation. Except all around you are these incredible opportunities. You have to open your eyes to them. If you want to work less and make more, then you have to get connected to exponentials. You have to get connected to leverage. There are people in your world right now that you could make one phone call to and they would give you 10 deals. I have coached people who have worked so hard. I mean, harder than you could possibly imagine. And they did okay. And then I have coached people who like lived these sort of joyful, like playing free lives, and they were killing it. And the difference was not their skill. The difference was not their discipline. The difference was not their schedule. The difference was not their prospecting. It was none of that. The difference was one person was committed to like really having an awesome experience in their real estate business. And the other person was committed to fulfilling on a myth. If I work hard, then I'll make a lot of money. And I just want you guys to admit it. It's bullshit. And you know it. You know it's bullshit. Leverage. I have a realtor who's in my group. All he does is go hang out with 6 different law firms. He just goes and hangs out with them. And those 6 law firms give him about 50 deals a year. And this is what his prospecting is. Hey, you want to grab lunch? Want to go play some golf? Hey, I was thinking about going to the game this week. You guys want to come? I got a box. That's his prospecting. Now, will that work for you? I don't know. But you can't see it if the hidden motives are running the show. Greed, grudge, hatred, victim, illogical rules, humble, traitor, pride, resistance, and lazy. If you know what these things are, you can eliminate the negative thoughts that stop you from being so limited. And you can start being awesome. The second thing I want you to write down for me is the unconscious reflexes of the drunk monkey. The unconscious reflexes of the drunk monkey. Now, I know that you've heard my students, you've heard me talk about the drunk monkey, and I know that the drunk monkey is proliferated throughout this industry. That's because my students are the leaders in this industry now. Unfortunately, I find that most of my students are lazy, and they don't actually dive all the way into what the drunk monkey is. They just use it as a kitschy like catchphrase, like, oh, that's just your drunk monkey, right? But that's not useful. What's useful is that the drunk monkey has 12 patterned ways of thinking, 12 patterns of thought. And every single negative thought that you have that limits you, that causes you to not take action, is coming from one of these patterns. Every unwanted fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's all coming from one of these patterns. And if you know what the patterns are, there happens to be 12 of them, then you can be empowered. And you can take action even when you're not empowered and you're not taking action. So everyone is being negatively impacted by the hidden motives to survive and the 12 unconscious reflexes. Now, what happens is you're being influenced by it. You feel yourself. Let me just ask you this. Do you guys ever feel unmotivated and like, what the hell's wrong with me? And how come everybody else is getting results? And when am I going to get the results that I want? And why do I feel like I'm always behind? Does anybody have those kinds of thinking? I just want you to know, those kinds of thinking lead to a very normal response. And here's what it is. Double down, baby. Start taking massive action. Try new lead sources. Maybe I need new software. I got to start a new marketing program. I'm going to change my schedule. You know what? I'm getting up earlier. I'm getting up earlier and I'm going to stay home. I'm going to go later. I'm going to get a new ad campaign running, new scripts, new closes, more accountability. And when all that doesn't work, then what do? You're like, I must be broken. I'm going to read that new book to figure out how to fix myself. I'm going to attend the next seminar. I'm going to get a new coach. Screw that coach. I need somebody else. I need a new training. I'm going to chant affirmations. I'm going to do my weekend retreats. Maybe I'll do some hypnosis. Jesus, maybe I'll take some mushrooms and maybe that'll fix it.
Sounds like fun.
Basically, anything to figure out what the hell is going on with me. But it's the same old cycle. It happens over and over and over and over and over and over and over, year in and year out. You get fired up for a while. Be honest. You get fired up for a while. You make some incremental changes, but then boom, you lose motivation. You start feeling low. You get down on yourself. You start beating yourself up. Your old habits start to creep in and you're back to square one, right? You make a little progress. Don't get me wrong. I know you're making progress, but you feel stuck. And it's like, God, when am I ever going to feel like I made it? So what happens is there's actually a misrepresentation. We don't actually go after like, what are the actual qualities and characteristics of a solution that'll work for me? And the real solution here is to create a flow state. Flow is a set of conditions. Flow is not something that you activate. Flow is something that you put into the environment. And when you put it into the environment, internal and external, all of a sudden flow starts to happen. The real solution is that you want something that makes you smile because you want to smile and dial and you want to feel good about the business. The perfect solution should create sustainable energy and optimism. It should create that perseverance, feeling empowered, loving the business, riding those waves up and down, like without falling into the deep lows. It's just like, no, like it goes up and down. Like that's the real solution. And I just want you to know, I have spent 30 years of my life coaching over 10,000 people from Main Street to Wall Street. And my clients are some of the most successful real estate agents in the world, some of the most successful real estate leaders, coaches, trainers. I just want you to know, like, half the people who are coaches today, like I coached them or trained them. Half the trainers out there, I coached them or trained them. The CEOs of the biggest companies out there in the world, like those are my clients. And what I found was I'm the secret weapon. I'm the thing that people go like, I don't know how to talk about this, but when I do it, I kill it. And so I want you to write down the rapid enlightenment process. The rapid enlightenment process. Now, if you Google Matthew Ferry, the rapid enlightenment process, you'll see like one of the very first things that comes up is that my rapid enlightenment process has been peer reviewed and published in the Journal of Advanced Research for Social Sciences. And the reason that has happened is that it just became so clear to me I was onto something here. I was onto something different. This wasn't just my opinion. And it turns out that it maps to modern social sciences. And I just happen to be a guy who talks to productive, powerful entrepreneurs like you. And the rapid enlightenment process helps people like you to work less, make more, kick ass, have an awesome time. So I want to just show you a slide here, or a couple slides, and then we're going to do some work. Where most of us are doing our work is in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And what you guys are working on is self-actualization. And self-actualization turns out to still be a need. I need to be better. I need to be more conscious. I need to be more calm. I need to be more flowing and free, and I need to become the best version of myself. And it turns out anytime there is a need, you activate the unconscious reflexes of the drunk monkey, and you activate the hidden motives to survive: greed, grudge, hatred, victim, illogical rules, humble, traitor, pride, resistance, and lazy. These are the source of negative thoughts. So no matter how self-actualized you become, you're still subject to all of this negativity, and it turns everything into a grind. What the rapid enlightenment process does is transcends the survival mind altogether. This is the survival mind down here. And we ascend into the thriving enlightened mind. Enlightened means modern, rational, well-informed. That is the definition of enlightened. And when you are modern and rational and well-informed, you realize, oh, actually, I'm okay. I'm okay doing it the way I'm doing it. I'm okay doing it a different way. I'm okay if it's kind of failing a little bit. I'm okay if it's succeeding. And that is a feeling of all is well. When you begin to progressively realize all is well, you go into greater and greater states of flow, and it leads you to these domains of thriving. So here are your unconscious reflexes, and we're going to take a couple of these on. The forecasting the negative, desire to fit in, holding people accountable to agreements they didn't make, avoiding making the same mistake twice, following rules that don't exist, avoiding failure, avoiding embarrassment, protecting yourself from the unknown, having opinions on things you know nothing about, being right, being better than others, and proving worthiness. When any of those things are present, like this is essentially every one of your negative thoughts is configured in one of these 12 patterns. They're driven by the hidden motives. So greed drives your fear that there won't be enough. So even though you have way more than enough, like exponentially more than enough, like you're going to be okay, it doesn't matter because you have a set of survival instincts that drives you to get more. So you're never satisfied, even though you have everything. You're sitting on a giant pile of gold, pissed off that you don't have 2 piles of gold. And it doesn't lead to flow or joy. It doesn't lead to exponentials. It leads to the grind. And so ultimately, the goal here is to get you up into these domains of thriving. And the domains of thriving are abundant, forgiving, kind, empowered, rational, confident, transparent, authentic, accepting, and inspired. But it turns out that every one of these is thwarted by an opposing intention. So greed opposes abundance. Grudge opposes forgiveness. Hatred opposes kindness. Victim opposes empowered. Illogical rules imposes being rational, and so on. The game, my friends, is to transcend the hidden motives and enter into the domains of thriving. And I want to give you a couple of ideas and tactics to make that happen. Okay, so I'm going to use a couple examples from clients that I have right now in our Mental Journey to Millions mastermind group. So here's an example, Robert. So Robert says, I'm calling my database and everybody's just negative about the high prices, the rates, it's like, how do I turn these conversations into more positive conversations? Well, first of all, everybody write down this unconscious reflex. Write down forecasting the negative. Forecasting the negative. So what's happening is Robert is forecasting that he's going to call his database and that because a few people were negative, everybody's going to be negative. It's a catastrophizing way of thinking about things. And this is actually a pattern way of operating. And it's very difficult to get out of the pattern. And the reason being is that it feels right. I walk over, I pet a dog, the dog bites me. What happens the next time I see a dog? The mind is a generalizer. The mind is lazy. And if you don't understand that you accidentally believe that you're psychic and you don't bust yourself, then you're going to be pulled into inventing negative futures and then essentially directing yourself towards making those negative futures happen. The way that you get out of this is by being a scientist. So will you just write this down? Run an experiment and put the drunk monkey to the test. So what I asked Robert to do was run an experiment. Like, okay, so the drunk monkey says you're going to call people, they're going to be negative. And what you're saying is, I want to call people and have them be positive. And you actually don't know negative and positive, because all you're doing is you're just overlaying, like you had one negative conversations and then you thought about that conversation for 7 more calls. And then later on that night, you're like, that lady was a bitch and that drove me crazy and I didn't like that, right? And you're like still taking it with you, which is a very normal thing to do. What you want to do is you want to start measuring. So a scientist is going to measure and monitor. You're going to put the drunk monkey to the test. You're like, all right, drunk monkey, you think you're psychic? You think that everybody is going to be negative? Let's see. Let's find out. And you start to run an experiment to see how many people you talk to are positive, how many are neutral, and how many are negative. And what you're going to discover is that by running the experiment itself, you suddenly engage in making those phone calls in a much more empowered and inspiring way. You're not there taking it personally that they're negative. You're like, ha, check, negative. You're putting it down on your sheet. The moment you measure and monitor it, you then distance yourself from the attachments. Let's look at number 2. Number 2, this is a client, his name is Adam. Struggling with the mental shift of being attached to the outcome. For example, someone chooses to work with another agent, someone that they, like Adam thought, like, this is one of my good clients. And then they pick somebody else. So what happens is a hidden motive to survive gets activated, and it's like it's a 2-step process. So write down hidden motive. The first hidden motive is one of the best hidden motives that we have, and it's called hatred. Hatred runs the planet. Hatred is the source of almost every good thing that you have came out of someone being angry at something. So we never want to poo-poo the hidden motives. We always want to celebrate them. Hatred then turns into the next one, which is grudge. So hatred is like disdain or anger or frustration or aggravation, right? But grudge is anticipating that disdain and anger and all of that will happen in the future. And so you hold on to it in the present to make sure that you don't get like screwed over in the future. That's a grudge. So what you got to do is something called the release attachment exercise. And if you don't have the release attachment exercise, you get stuck. So I want you to write a couple things down for me, please. The first one is this. Will you write down that an attachment is an exaggerated fear of losing an imaginary benefit? So if we go back to working with Adam on this process, it's like, Adam, like what are you afraid of losing? So it has 4 steps, basically. What are you afraid of losing? How will this loss affect you without the exaggeration? And if that happens, are you going to be okay? And then the last one is, what are you committed to? So it's 4 questions you ask yourself to release your attachment. So it's like, Adam, what are you afraid of losing? And he's like, how many, first of all, like that person like dissed me. Like they owe me. They're just like someone who they love me and I love them, right? So he's afraid of losing his goodwill. He's afraid of losing his good standing in the world. He's afraid of losing future commissions. Like if that person just dissed me, are other people going to diss me? So he has an exaggerated fear of losing an imaginary benefit out there in the future. So it's like, well, Adam, how will the loss actually affect you without the exaggeration? And he was like, well, like I missed out on 22 grand because Bob sold with somebody else. So how does it actually affect you? Well, I don't have the 22 grand. Right. But did you have the 22 grand? No, I didn't have the 22 grand. So how does it actually affect you? And he's like, doesn't actually affect me at all. Kind of pisses me off, but it doesn't actually affect me. Okay, great. So then the question is, are you going to be okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to be okay. And I was like, good. What are you committed to? And then he said something powerful. I'm committed to figuring out how to be in communication with all of my supporters more often and in a way that is meaningful so that if they decide to do a transaction, they do it with me. I was like, Great. What experiment would you like to run? And then we ran an experiment to increase the frequency with which he was in communication with his supporters. So he had hatred. Oh, that person's a jerk. Then he had grudge. Long term, going to hold on to that. And we had to release attachment. If you do that, all of a sudden, everything opens up. Like all those miracle situations that I was telling you about in the beginning, like they're not miracles in our world. Like that's what happens. It happens because you get to finally be you. You're not all like arg and, like I'm going to go make it happen, right? All of that energy that we bring into our business actually, for most people, thwarts them and makes them less effective. Let's talk about Alex. So Alex was like, how do I increase my deal flow when all my referrals are starting to drop off significantly? And so he came to the group and just said, I can't figure out what's happening. Like my referrals, I was getting 2, 3, 4 referrals every single month. I'm getting like 1 a month now. Like, how do I maintain my volume in that? And so we had to first start by distinguishing an unconscious reflex. Will you write down for me, please? Protecting from the unknown. And then we just started to play, right? So we began to, after we distinguished, he's protecting himself from the unknown, and we did some attachment releasing, and we did something called facing the worst case scenario. We got him back to a place of like openness again. And we're like, well, what's an intention you would like to set? And he's like, I would just love it if like one person could bring me 10 deals every single year. And then people in the group, like they started going like, oh yeah, I have somebody like that. They work in this like probate and divorce and, oh yeah, I have this guy, he, builds 10 houses a year and I get to sell them, right? There's all these different ways in which people have one client, one call, one relationship. It brings them 10, 15, 20 deals a year. And he was like, I would like to do that. And so people started giving suggestions on experiments that he could be running. And then he had a zinger. And his zinger was, he was all like worried if he should call this guy. It was an investor. He called the investor. He basically did something that we call giving the gift. He gave the gift to the person. And when he did that, this guy was like, I love who you are. I love that you don't have any agenda. You're just trying to contribute and make my life better. I got this property that I want to list and I want to get sold. He went over, he listed the guy's property, and then he was like, I've got 3 more that I want to give you. So he didn't get 10, but he did get 4. And it just started with releasing the fear of the unknown, protecting yourself from the unknown, and then getting into experiment mode, and then ultimately giving the gift. So I want to just wrap it up with this idea. Work less, make more. It's not a catchphrase. It's not marketing. It's just practical. Do you have so much time? And so to devote your time to just grinding your face off to get business just seems dumb. It just seems much smarter to like figure out, how do I get myself mentally, emotionally, spiritually in a place where I can open myself up to new possibilities and do the business in a different way? How do I get so groovy in my way of operating that my presence is experienced as a gift? Because when my presence is experienced as a gift, people want to refer me. People throw me things. People go like, you should do this for free. You should come with us. You should be ready. Like, it just creates this velocity. The key is to feel flow, to feel ease, to feel joy. And the stresses and the fears and the frustrations of the interest rates hikes and the listing shortages and the political uncertainty and the war breaking out all over the world, like that stuff doesn't actually have to weigh on you. You can feel joyful. You can be playful in this business if you implement the rapid enlightenment process into your business. It's a practical and tactical thing to do. So I want to get you started on that path, and I've written this killer free report. And this report's a 24-page detailed report on what you're currently doing right now to sabotage your business. and then what you do instead. And it details out the full 4 pillars of the rapid enlightenment process. Today, we took on 2.